Hi, this is Isha the Mad Scientist with the AirGigs blog, and today I'm going to show you how to treat a drum room and make your own acoustic panels. Let's dive in. Before I had the money to build real nice panels, I had these Auralex panels. They help with some high frequency reflections, but they don't help with low end that you really need for a drum room. This is what it looks like when it's professionally treated. So if you stay tuned to the end of this video, I will show you how to build these from scratch. But let's talk a little bit about where you should hang them if you decide to just purchase some pre-made. You'll notice that they're at different heights. Because this is mainly a drum room, the panels are quite lower than they would be if you were going to be standing up and singing in a vocal booth. This way they absorb more of the direct reflections of the drums. You also have to think of functionality. This panel had to be higher because there's a power outlet. And then this had to be higher so it could be on top of those guitar amps. This one I turned sideways, put it on the wall right underneath the window, which actually makes it a perfect height for the kick drum. All these panels have 3-inch thick insulation in them, except for this one in the corner that is a bass trap, and that actually has 12 inches of acoustic foam material, so it absorbs much lower frequencies. If you're interested in purchasing panels, I highly recommend you check out GIK Acoustics. You can get panels similar to this for about $75 a piece. Now, if you're a DIYer and you'd like to save some money, stay tuned and I'm going to show you how to build these panels from scratch. We need to build frames to hold the panel that will look like this. Then start out by getting some scrap plywood, or you could buy a small sheet. This is 1/2-inch plywood I'm using here. And we're going to be cutting it to 24 inches by 4.5 inches. So measure 24 inches, that's the exact length of this square. Make sure you use a square and draw a straight line. And then we're going to cut that. The next side needs to be measured 4.5 inches. So we'll mark that with our pencil on both sides, and then we'll draw a straight line in between them. We'll set it up on top of some boards so we have clearance for the saw. We'll clamp it down. Make sure you're not going to cut into what's below it. Then you're going to take your saw and cut that. And you can see that's how the top or bottom looks. Then you can use that as a quick template to measure any more of these that you're going to build. So we'll just make our mark, clamp it in place, and then we'll cut it. Next, we need to cut the upright supports, which are made out of 2x1 furring strips that are sold in 8-foot lengths. So I like to do these both at the same time, line them up so they're as flush as possible, and clamp down both sides. These are 8-feet pieces of wood, so we're just going to be measuring them to cut in half. So we'll measure for 4 feet. We'll make a line and then draw a straight line with a speed square. Once again, we'll set this up so we have clearance for the saw. Adjust the blade depth. Now we're going to be cutting through much thicker wood. And give it a cut. You end up with 4 of these for each panel. Now we're going to screw them together. For this, you're going to want to have some wood glue. The screws that I used were 1 5/8 inch long trim screws with a star drive bit to make them easy to drive in, but other screws would work just fine. An impact driver and a drill. These corner clamps can be really helpful if you're doing this by yourself. If you have a second pair of hands, they can just hold it for you. So you're going to set this up in the clamps with the plywood on the edge of the table, and then your supports going along the table. When it's all clamped together, it should look like this. I like to do both sides at the same time. I find that it's more square that way. Then we're going to take our wood glue, put some on the end, clamp it in place, drill and screw it together. I would be careful when you're drilling into such a thin board that you're really in the center of it. and you're going very straight. Repeat the process on the other side. Turn the whole thing around, take off your clamps, and clamp on the other side. Then you're just going to glue, drill, and screw again. Here's another angle of what it looks like when it's all clamped down. Then you're simply going to flip it over and do this 2 more times. The finished product should look something like this. Now we need to install a wire so you can hang this on a picture hanger on drywall. So the tools you're going to need for this are a pair of pliers, some wire cutters, a drill, some of these eye hooks, some wire. Picture hanger wire is great. I ran out and had some of this laying around, a pencil, and a tape measure. I'm measuring down 16 inches from the top. Where it is not that important as long as it's the same on both sides. And I like all the panels to be the same so that I can easily do the math to hang them at the same height. So you just make a mark on both sides, and then we're going to drill into the middle of the wood. Next we're going to screw in our eye hooks. If it's difficult, you can always use the pliers, but I can usually do it by hand. Next we're going to take the wire, run it through the eye hook on one side, then pull it through to the other eye hook and make sure that we overlap enough that we can double it back on itself and tighten it up. Grab our cutters, give it a slice, then we're going to pull it tight and tighten it up. Now you can see that this is how it hangs on the wall. The next step is attaching the fabric. You're going to need a tape measure, a Sharpie, a pair of fabric scissors, a staple gun, and some sort of square to help you draw a straight line, as well as your fabric, which in this case for the back is a upholstery fabric. And then you're going to measure 24 inches while the fabric is doubled over as it comes in the roll. And you're going to mark on both sides and do your best to draw a straight line. It doesn't have to be perfect. Any extra fabric can be cut off, and this is going to be on the back of the panel, so you won't see any sort of strange edges. So make your mark and then draw your straight line. Now grab your fabric scissors and do your best to cut along the straight line. Now grab your acoustic panel, put it on the table or on the ground, grab your fabric, and put it on the inside on the back, which is the side that has the picture hanger wire on it. Do your best to get it smooth and straight, remembering that any extra fabric can be trimmed off if you want, but this is also going to be on the inside and on the back, so it really doesn't need to look pretty. Grab your staple gun and start stapling along the side. I recommend that you switch back and forth from one side to the other so that you can keep it tight and make sure you don't get too uneven. For the top and bottom, it's easiest to flip the panel upright and then try to make it as tight as possible and staple the bottom. Cut off any extra fabric. For the sound absorbing insulation, I recommend Rockwool Safe and Sound that you can find at most big box hardware stores. This one you're looking for is going to say 24 inches on center. It's 3 by 23 by 47, so it should fit into these frames perfect. For the front of the panels, I'm using speaker grill cloth. It is acoustically and visually transparent. We need enough fabric to go around the front, up the sides, and around the back to staple. That should measure 31 inches, but you might want to check on your own panels. So I'm going to do my best to find a straight edge, mark 31 inches, and cut. Now put your fabric down on the table, put your panel down on top of that, open up your bag of insulation. Make sure you wear gloves. This stuff can be quite itchy if you're not used to it. Next, you're going to slide your insulation into your panel grab onto it and flip it over. Try to center it in the middle of your fabric. Make sure you have enough fabric to roll over both sides evenly. For this next step, it's really helpful to have a friend to hold the fabric for you. So hold it tight and staple along the edge, and then go back and drive some more staples in between. Then repeat the process on the other side. Folding the ends is a bit tricky, so if you know anyone who's really good at folding Christmas presents, invite them over. So you're gonna fold in the corner and make a little triangle shape underneath, fold it to the back and staple. Now if your plywood is thick enough, you can staple along the top of the plywood, but with this piece I found it was thin and it was a lot easier to do the back. Here's another angle so you can get a better look at the folding. You're going to fold it over a few inches, pull the fabric tight and in, make a little triangle shape underneath, pull the fabric back, trying to remove as many wrinkles as possible, pull it back and drive a few staples. Flip it over, pull it tight and staple the fabric to the bottom, and then simply cut off any extra fabric. This is what the panel should look like when it's completed. Now we're going to hang them on the wall. You're going to need a tape measure, a pencil, a hammer, and a picture hanger like this one here. Hook the measuring tape on the picture hanging wire. With tension, lift up the panel and measure from the bottom of the wire to the top of the panel. In this case, it was 14 inches. Then you're going to hold the panel where you want it, draw a mark in the middle on top of it. Measure down 14 inches and make another pencil mark. Then you're going to grab your picture hanger, line up the bottom of the hook to the pencil mark. Grab a small hammer and tap it in. Now grab the wire, pull it out, and do your best to hook it around the bottom of the picture hanger, and then level it out, and you are done. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this video was helpful, and if you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. If you're interested in my services, check me out on AirGigs under Isha the Mad Scientist or user Daypass137. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next video.